What up, what up, what up? Good evening, good people in New Bedford, Mass, and the surrounding area. It's your favorite sports show, Straight to the Point Sports, with myself and my man, D. Con. What's up, D. Con?
What up, Steven? What's up, everybody? What's going on, man?
Hey, I know football season is over, but man, was free agency fun. A lot of big moves. A lot of teams really helped themselves. And as usual, there's a few teams that left us some question marks as not making some moves. And we know some are going to be money related, but others were just tight wad with the budget and didn't want to spend no money.
Yeah, I thought the Patriots did quite a bit, but I thought they would do.
Well, they had the most money,
I thought
so they could have done more, but
they
didn't get the wide receiver. And they said that after they got who they got, their defense is straight. And Vrabel's a defensive coach, but there wasn't no top of the line wide receiver or top of the line offensive lineman that they wanted after Dahlman and Kelly were gone.
and they just lost their center.
Yeah, he retired today. I mean, they cut him today.
They cut him.
Yeah. But I say there was 4 teams who really enhanced their positions going into next year. Would you agree with that? Or like what teams do you think? I'll see if they match
I
up.
want to say Washington.
Yeah, that's one of the teams I got up there. Another team in our division.
The Bears.
Yep.
And who else is there?
I think another team in our division did really good in free agency. Might be purple and gold.
I don't know. Did they really?
Purple and gold.
They got one guy.
Mm-hmm.
That one guy makes you that much.
And you already mentioned the Patriots. So those were the big 4.
Yeah.
The Commanders, the Bears, the Vikings, and the Patriots. I don't know if some other teams made some key moves, some key pickups, whether it was trade or free agency. But I'd have to say those 4 teams got the most bang for their buck. They've changed. Let's start off with the Commanders. They did a hell of a job last year with just having Jaden Daniels, didn't really have no big name free agents. That Jaden Daniels in their offense caused a resurgence with Terry McLaurin being a top 1 receiver. And they go and trade for Deebo Samuel and gave up a bag of stale popcorn for him.
Yeah. Well, it all depends on what Deebo Samuel you're going to get too.
You don't think he'll be motivated? Something to prove?
You never know with him. He's that prima donna type that probably just don't give a shit sometimes.
Well, hopefully that's not the case because we know the talent level's there. I want to see the Deebo that was also being used as a running back because so far that's the only thing that the Commanders haven't added. And I think they're going to address that in the draft.
Yeah.
But when they get a dominant running game, I mean,
there's a lot of running backs in this draft.
Yeah. I'm hoping to get one.
There's a lot of running backs.
I mean, we don't have a 2nd round pick, but I wouldn't mind using it. Well, I'll get to that in a minute. But Washington added Deebo Samuel. Then they made a trade for a 4th round pick for one of the best offensive tackles in football, Laramie Tunsil.
Yeah.
What the hell were the Texans thinking?
They probably don't want to pay him.
They need more help on the offensive line when they had him.
I know.
So we said that Washington's needs going into the season were going to be like a number 2 wide receiver because they lost Diamani Brown.
Yeah.
So we figured they might have to. They needed all kind of defense, but we said they still need offensive line help, and they need a 2nd wide receiver to offset McLaren.
Yeah.
And they steal Laramie Tunsil. Steal him.
I know for a 4.
They steal Deebo Samuel. So guess what? The draft comes up. 2 major positions on offense you don't have to address. Yeah. Where do you think they're going in the draft now?
They're
going to go defense. Now, they did lose they lost both their defensive tackles, right? Because we got one.
I know you got one, and I'm not sure what the other one did.
I thought one went to Seattle. But I'm not sure, but I know we got one. But, all right, not only did Washington get Deebo Samuel and Laramie Tunsil, they also weakened the 49ers by getting Javon Kinlaw. So he replaced, maybe say the guy we got, because I know that Jonathan Allen. So maybe, do you think that's an upgrade? Because they're both nose tackle.
Maybe for age-wise.
Yeah, that's what I'd say. He's a little younger.
But I don't know.
And then they re-signed their own, Bobby Wagner, who I think has a little more juice in the tank, and especially since they need a leader on defense, it was good that they were able to keep him. But then they re-signed Zach Ertz, who also had a resurgent year with them.
Yep.
Well, actually, the year before he had a resurgent year with the Cardinals. Then he had a great year with them, and so they got a weapon at tight end. They got a weapon.
But do you think that's going to hurt with Debo?
Like you said, it all depends on what type of Debo we get. We don't know what's in Debo's head, what's in his heart. But if Debo comes ready to play, I hope he comes in with a chip on his shoulder. I hope he comes in like, I got something to prove, and I want to stick it to the 49ers, and I want the Commanders to have a better year than the 49ers.
Yeah.
But what's that up there? Deshaun saying Cup to New England.
That's what he wants, because I didn't get no update.
From what I heard, they're battling. Paul Miranda, what's going on, man? We ain't heard from you in a while, but we're talking about NFL free agency, the winners and losers. So far, we've just mentioned what the Commanders did, but we're going to move on to the next team. But we just got a comment about Cup possibly going to New England. The Chiefs are also making a run for Cooper Cup. So if you want to win, you go to KC. If you want a bigger payday, you go to New England.
Yeah.
But let's talk about the moves New England made to see if he'd want to go there, because you're not going to win right away. But I think they've taken a step in the right direction.
But you also got to look at it like this, though. I don't know what type of guy Cooper Kupp is, but even both places, you're going to play outside in the cold. He's coming from a dome team, a California team that played in a dome.
Yeah, but I understand what you're saying, but they won't play every game at home.
No, I know. But it's just.
And if you come to New England, at least you got warm weather in Miami to look forward to, but not in the Jets, not the Buffalo, and not your home games in New England. So 3/4, 75% of your divisional games, which is going to be 6 games, are going to. But if you're lucky enough to play one of those cold weather teams in September, October, it's not bad.
But either way, so you're hoping to play them all.
Yeah, well, you're not going to get them all.
I know.
But
I'm saying,
you're going to hope.
Like I said, I don't know what type of player, like what type of person he is.
But I would have to think,
because he's both teams.
He's a great talent, great hands. He's one of the best route runners, and he's a good character guy to have as a teammate. So he's going to be great for the locker room too. But what you brought up about the cold weather is going to be a concern.
When there's other teams that can use you, that probably that are right on the cusp. So
if not New England, and if not Kansas City, where would he go that's semi-warm that he can contribute? Would he consider the 49ers?
That would be a good spot, seeing as Debo's gone.
And they lost a lot of finances with everybody leaving, so there should have been some money.
That team, with everything that they lost, I don't think they're ready.
Stays on the West Coast.
I don't think they're ready to do it. I think honestly, I think he'd be all right with the Chargers. And he can coach up the young kid there.
Oh, the one that got shot.
No, the Chargers.
Oh, the Chargers. Now that's a warm weather team staying on the West Coast.
I think he'd be good with the Chargers.
Now, that could happen because for all intents and purposes, the Chargers had their eye on 2 free agent wide receivers and didn't get either one. Yep. The number one was Chris Godwin.
Yep.
And New England wanted him too. He ended up staying in Tampa Bay. And I don't know if you saw the interview, but I liked the way he represented himself. Like, me and my family have come in. The Tampa Bay organization was good to us. I built some long-standing relationships here, and I just felt loyal, like I wanted to stay. And I like playing with Baker Mayfield. Like, he likes what happened last year, and he was hurt. See, if he was healthy, Tampa Bay might have been a little bit different of a problem.
They were tough even without him.
Running back was emerging, a young kid. Mike Evans is Mike Evans.
Yep.
Baker Mayfield was holding it down.
What up, Joel?
But we were talking about New England. They added Carlton Davis at cornerback. You know what that's going to look like on the other side of Christian Gonzalez?
If he can stay healthy.
But he doesn't have to. He could be the number 2 over there. So you could put him on the number 2 guy, which technically won't get as much action as the main guy. Christian Gonzalez can play the other. But that makes it hard to throw to either side because you're still only responsible for half the field.
Now,
But you got 2 shutdown corners.
Now, by picking up Davis, right? Do you still go after Hunter in the draft?
They said that's a good possibility
Because he can go on offense.
You can play him on offense
and then play him in the nickel.
and then just play him in special situations. Or they said vice versa. You could have started him in the defensive backfield and you could have just used him on obvious passing situations.
Yeah.
But he might be better than any of the wide receivers the Patriots got.
So
it might sound better to play him on all snaps and bring him into package defenses unless he proves he should play. If Davis got hurt, you got a built-in, or else you'd have to move him around. But they said he's now either the second or third overall pick, depending on what Tennessee does, because the only person that would get taken ahead of him would be Cam Ward. But now that it's going to depend on team need. Now that free agency is over, but they also picked up edge rusher Harold Landry, old BC guy who was doing his thing down in Tennessee. They got him. The old Philadelphia nose tackle Milton Williams, who would have looked good over at on your squad. He went over there. And from what I was told, that wasn't even a close decision because nobody else, he was the first one domino to fall, like in free agency, and New England just threw the bag at him that everybody else was like, well, I guess they want him a little more than we do. But he's not playing alongside Jalen Carter no more.
No.
So you don't have that guy getting double teamed. Now they do got, is it Christian Bonmore, who's a decent nose tackle in New England, but he's not.
Yeah, he's not gonna
Jalen Carter.
Yeah, Jalen Carter's gonna demand that double team every play, and it's gonna make it made it easier for him. But I don't know. I don't think he's gonna have that same thing in New England.
And then an underrated move, who I think a lot of people don't know about because he wasn't on a winning team, linebacker from the Raiders, Robert Spillane. He's one of those do-it-all type linebackers, and I don't think he was. I think the players in the league and the coaches in the league knew who he was, but us as fans, we probably didn't know how good he was. And that he's younger, and that's going to add to their roaming linebacker corps. What the Patriots did with their defensive line makes me think they'll be back to having a top 3 to 5 defense in the league. The problem is, can they score?
That's just the defense wasn't the problem.
No, which was when they hired Vrabel, I said he'll get the most out of what they already have. I thought they'd make all the additions to offense, but he couldn't help being a defensive-minded coach and went after all defensive players.
This must be telling me that they're gonna go after all offensive players in the draft,
and they're probably gonna try to shore up the offensive line and run the ball a lot because the defense will keep them close. And Drake May is capable of passing, but they won't put 30, 35 attempts a game on him. Probably 25 to 30 attempts. He'll pass when he needs to or change of pace. The only offensive guy they added was Morgan Moses, who I don't think is a top level. He came over from the Jets, I believe, but he's suitable. But if I'm Drake May, I'm not resting a little easier.
No. I don't know.
So what do you think overall? What kind of grade would you give New England?
Just for, I don't know, probably like maybe a B.
And everybody was excited about how much they did. And I agree with you because I think they needed offense first. They strengthened an already strong foothold. So now you're going to be really, really good on defense. But now your draft has to be all offense. And I heard there's 3 people they're considering. But number 1 right now is Tatoria McMillan, the 6'5", number 1 rated wide receiver out of Arizona.
He's good.
Yeah, great hands. They say he's a bigger Puka Nacua. So that's a good comparison. I don't know if he has the speed that Nacua has, but at 6'5", great hands,
big body.
He stretches the field. He can be your number 1 target. But if you take him first, you still haven't addressed the offensive line, and you're exposing Drake May for another year. Even though they have an early pick in the 2nd round, I don't think they'll get a top offensive lineman that late. But if they reverse it and take, say,
The kid,
Will Campbell,
the kid. That's not the kid from LSU. Is it?
yeah,
Yeah.
they say he has short arms, but his immeasurables are off the charts because he got the
C-
best lateral movement. C plus.
He don't like the Patriots.
But Willie, you have to agree they strengthened the stronghold already and made their defense even better. But they know they need to protect Drake May.
They definitely.
And
do.
the only thing they did was we'll give you a C- offensive lineman.
And they got rid of and then David Andrews go.
David Andrews got but you know something? Wasn't David Andrews one of the two centers that was always hurt? I know they had two decent centers.
He was an eight-time
right, captain. But I want to say he's had both knees operated on. He's missed a lot when he's there, but he misses more time than he's there. And at the pay, he probably wasn't willing to take a paycheck. They probably brought him in, sat him down. Hey, we're not going to give you the type of money. You're going to have to take a pay cut. I don't want to cut me and let me work out my own deal with somebody else.
Yeah, maybe. I don't know.
I don't know who's going to, I forgot who the other center was, but I know they had two of them. I don't know if the other one left last year or if he's still on the team, but they had, because Stevenson got hurt and they had somebody else. But then they re-signed Austin Hooper at tight end, which, you know, is suitable. The one I didn't know they signed, I just saw today, was I didn't realize they signed Mac Hollins in free agency. He's a very athletic wide receiver. He's never going to be your main dude, but he'd be a good number 3 if the Patriots took a wide receiver. And I think the young wide receivers of the Patriots are going to play wetter. They're going to get more plays called in their favor. They had 2 rookies last year. Man, I'm drawing a blank. But they had
what
the kid from LSU
for
the Patriots
offense?
Yeah, wide receiver. He was a rookie last year from LSU. He came on toward the end of the year.
Javon Baker?
No, that's the young guy that was supposed to be good that they drafted in the second round, and he didn't have the year that he was supposed to. But they said that he wasn't game planned into the game because he had a personality conflict. Kayshon Boutte. He was at LSU. He was projected to be a first-round pick. They ended up getting him in the second round. He had trouble learning the offense at the beginning. He fell out of favor with the coach.
Yeah.
Same thing with Baker. But then toward the end of the year, like 3 quarters into the year, they both started playing better. So I think their production will go up. They're going to be working with a new offensive coordinator, so they might get game planned in. And if they fix the line and Mr. May has a little bit extra time, he might be able to scan the field and look for them. But if they get Tatoria McMillan and add to those guys, I think their wide receiver room starts looking really, really good. But at what point do you draft a wide receiver as opposed to what point do you get the line to protect your franchise quarterback? Which one would you do first? You're the Patriots general manager.
I don't know.
Are you going wide receiver? And if so, would you go Hunter or McMillan?
If Hunter's there, you can't pass him up.
And that's why I say it's an easy decision because I don't think Hunter will be there at 4.
If Hunter's there, you can't pass him up.
I think unless somebody unexpected trades up for a quarterback and that pushes the non-quarterbacks down a little bit, like the first 2 quarterback go or something and somebody trades up. But
so you think Hunter's going to the Browns? Patriots got the 3rd pick?
I don't know what the Titans are doing.
Patriots have the 3rd pick, right?
4th.
Who has the 3rd pick?
Cleveland, Tennessee, Cleveland.
I thought it was the Pats.
No, somebody else in the Pats. Guys, jump in. Who has the 3rd pick? But Patriots have 4th because they were saying a most likely trade scenario would be if Shedeur Sanders was still on the board at 4, the Raiders would make a trade with the Patriots because the Patriots will still have their pick between Will Campbell, Tatoria McMillan, and somebody else. Like they'll get one of the guys they want at 6, and then they'll stockpile an extra pick.
Giants.
The Giants, yeah. Because the Giants are at number 2. Cleveland's at number 3.
Nah. The Giants are at number
3. Oh, no, they're at number 3 because they're hoping one of the quarterbacks fall to them.
Yeah, Giants are at 3.
So you're at number 4. We don't know who's going to trade up for who. We don't know, who values who more. But I would assume if anybody drops, it's going to be Stevens.
If Hunter's not there, I go after the offensive lineman.
And do you think even though despite the metrics on him having short arms, he's technically the most sound wide receiver. There's also Kelvin Banks down at Texas.
Go after the best offensive lineman out there.
Yeah, but who do you think is the offensive? Yeah. Is it Campbell or is it Banks? Because Kelvin Banks had a hell of a year, but I think that the kid from LSU is more technically sound.
I would go with the kid from LSU.
And I think that's the best move because you got your left tackle to protect the blind side. Yeah, that's what would make sense, Paul. But it's kind of tantalizing when you got Travis Hunter on the board, Will Campbell on the board.
Travis Hunter is on the board. In my opinion, I take Travis Hunter.
And let's say that the Giants and Tennessee and Cleveland all pass on a quarterback. The Raiders are definitely going to move up to get Shedeur Stevens, or somebody else is going to come up. So that might push him down to 6, get him an extra second-round pick just to move back 2 spots. They'll still get one of those guys.
Yeah.
But I think the Patriots did a lot this year, but until they show me what they can do on offense, they're only going to be slightly better than last year because I feel like they'll be dominant on one side of the ball, but they haven't addressed any offensive problems.
Willie says the Patriots are going to try and grab Hunter to sell tickets.
Does that satisfy the picky fan base in New England, though? I think they'd rather have Campbell to protect May.
My thing is,
or the big splash. That's what he's saying. Yeah.
I think I go with Hunter. That's just my opinion.
And we just talked about how even though he wants to play two-way, a lot of people are saying he's going to have to make a decision. But he could play a lot at wide receiver right now.
Yep.
And because you got Carlton Davis and Christian Gonzalez, he doesn't have to play the majority on defense. You can ease him in on defense and
throw him in that
special nickel packages. So those are 2 of the 4 teams. What do you think about our division now? The Chicago Bears and Minnesota Vikings. Do you think? What happened?
Let's go with the Steelers. There was like 3 people to ask about the Steelers,
but they didn't do anything yet. I'm talking about the first 4, the best 4 pickups right now. I think the Steelers, they're still in limbo. They lost Harris.
What are they going to do with their quarterback position? Both of their quarterbacks are gone. They were talking about bringing in that old dude. What's that? The old quarterback there.
Russell Wilson?
Nope.
Flacco?
Help me out. No, he's an old quarterback for the Steelers.
He already resigned. Mason Rudolph.
Yeah.
They brought him back.
Oh, they already did.
They brought him back. 2 years, $8 million or something like that.
Wow.
But like Joe's saying, everything's being held up because of Mr. Rogers, which haven't we seen this story before?
No,
Going into the dock, everybody waiting on him before Russell Wilson can't sign with his next team because the Rodgers is Pittsburgh's first choice. If they don't get Rodgers, Russell Wilson will be the quarterback, the number 1 quarterback in Pittsburgh. He'll sign as soon as Rodgers is off the board.
My thing, why wait? Rodgers is not the Rodgers.
But somehow the
2006.
Steelers believe that Rodgers is the guy they want. Because if there was this much drama, I'd be moving on from Rodgers. Because the other thing I'm worried about, he's a strong personality. Mike Tomlin's not going to give up any power he's going to do things his way too. It's going to be the Steelers system, the way Mike Tomlin wants it done. And Aaron Rodgers has shown in the past, he'll challenge his coach. Could that cause an issue? I don't want that element in my offense.
He's not going to be the focal point anymore because he's not going to get the big dollars that he's used to getting.
And Pittsburgh's notorious for not paying.
And he's not gonna come in and just run a team that has a strong as Pittsburgh is. I don't know.
Wait a minute, Paul, where did you hear that? That the Steelers are trying to talk to Jerry about trading for Dak Prescott.
I agree with you.
At $60 million? I don't think Pittsburgh absorbs that contract.
I agree with you, Willie, on that, but no. I don't know. I thought he said that another team was trying to go after.
And that's what I was saying, yeah.
I thought he said, what team? Was it Stanford? No, not Stanford. Who was we talking about earlier?
Cleveland needs a quarterback.
Wasn't the Patriot. I don't know.
The Raiders got their quarterback, who I think is a better option than Rodgers right now. I don't think there's many
big time here in Dallas.
Well, maybe you guys are hearing that, but I can't. Pittsburgh's notorious, Paul, for not spending big money.
Ain't nobody want
They
that.
didn't
for
want to pay
60
Le'Veon
million.
Bell. They didn't want to pay their wide receivers that were good. Antonio, what was it? Antonio
Brown.
Every time one of their players, the only one they paid was TJ Watt. They didn't pay nobody else.
Juju Smith started doing good. They got rid of him.
Yeah. Anytime somebody's contract came up, Pittsburgh did not want to pay him. And they've been that way for years. They've been known as a stingy organization. So for them to trade for the highest paid quarterback out there,
that's great.
After they just traded for DJ Metcalf, who has a new. So I feel like they set the pieces up by getting another playmaker, and they got a decent tight end, but their offensive line needs help. They lost Najee Harris, who went over to the Chargers.
Yep. What are they going to do?
So what's Pittsburgh's identity? You're going to bring in old man Rodgers?
What are they going to do about that number 14?
The other wide receiver Pickens?
Yeah. No, well, they both wear number 14.
Oh, yeah, I'm worried about that. But I do know that that's something that maybe Pickens makes a big deal out of because he's been a little bit of a hot-headed, immature.
Yeah, they're both they're the same type of receiver.
And the same type of attitudes.
They're both prima donnas.
Watt's contract is up next year. Why do I think he already had a big contract?
Yeah, he did. But
it's expiring. But they signed him the big money his last contract, no questions asked.
DK,
and don't they still have the defensive back that came over from Miami, Fitzpatrick? Because I thought Miami had signed him the big money and then they traded him to Pittsburgh.
I'm not positive on that one.
But I think Fitzpatrick, when he came to Pittsburgh, was considered one of the better defensive backs in the league.
Safety, right? He was a safety?
Yeah, I think so. Oh, I guess Paul found that out. DK's agreed to wear 17.
Yeah, but I still a fan saying DK is wearing number 4. So I'd have to go with the Steeler fan over on that one. Sorry, Paul, but
we'll see what happens with that. But I still think there's a few pieces to the puzzle before you can figure out what's going on in Pittsburgh. They got more holes to fill. They got to fill running back.
Do they have a running back? They don't have a running back.
No, they lost Najee Harris. They got the other guy that split with him. Though.
Yeah. Warren,
but he's not a workhorse. They need another guy in that backfield. They don't have a good enough offensive line to like dominate with the run. So their identity is going to be a passing quarterback this year because they got the weapons on the outside. Their defense will always keep them close, but they got so many holes to fill. So we'll have to wait and see what happens with that Aaron Rodgers situation before we can evaluate Pittsburgh any further. But getting back to our division, 2 teams made a lot of moves. Do you think one team helped themselves more than the other in the Bears and the Vikings? I think they both got what they need. Like that first day of free agency, the Bears impressed the hell out of
them. Yeah, they went and got a line.
They replaced everybody but one person on the line.
They went and got a line.
So Caleb Williams can no longer be using the excuse, I didn't get the protection, because he's going to be protected.
He's still going to hold on to the ball, in my opinion.
Now, was that a Ben Johnson move or an organizational move? Because that's what Detroit did.
That was Ben Johnson.
So what you think Ben Johnson's next move will be? Because now they're in the draft at like number 10. They're not going after an offensive lineman in the draft. They need another running back. I think Ashton Gentry now goes to the Bears.
Yeah.
Because now he'll feel like I can copy as close for what's available. I can try to mimic what I had and what I was comfortable running in Detroit, but I need the personnel. If he gets Gentry behind that line, that's less pressure on Caleb Williams to throw. Now, they lost Keenan Allen. He hasn't signed with nobody yet. But they still got Rome Odunze, who has to step it up. And they still got DJ Moore, who to me is proven. And they got Cole Kmet at tight end. You still got weapons, but you need that consistent running game.
And they have a decent.
So do you think Gentry would be a good pick with them?
Either him or the kid from North Carolina.
Omarion Hampton. We talked about him. He's bigger, but I don't see him going at 10 ahead of Gentry just because of all the exposure. Gentry had some big games against Oregon and a couple of other teams. Like he showed he can play big time ball. Hampton, I'm hoping, is around when my Vikings pick because I think we fixed a lot of stuff. We drafted exactly for need. And I think if, Aaron Jones is getting long in the tooth. And if we can add a young running back like Hampton that can ease in, but then when he's ready, he'll eventually overtake Jones by the end of the year.
Do you have a backup tight end?
Yeah, we have 3 tight ends, but 2 of them are blocking tight ends. We don't have another receiving tight end, but we have Johnny Munt, and then we have the other guy that's a real good blocker. We picked him up 2 off seasons ago, and Kwesi was like that. He picked him up just because of his run blocking, and Hawkinson's the receiver. But they got 3 tight ends, and they're going to carry all 3. It's only Josh Oliver. Josh Oliver is the tight end. He's one of the best blocking tight ends in the league, but he caught a few this year.
The other guy kept. Marion Hampton projected to go to the Steelers at 21.
And they have a need now.
I know. What pick do you have?
24. So
so
Pittsburgh could cut my throat. And that, but as a Vikings fan, because let me go by what we did. Everybody knew our offensive line needed to be shored up. So we went out on day 1 and signed Ryan Kelly, an 8-time Pro Bowl center. Now, he's had a couple of injuries in the last couple of years, but if he's healthy, he's one of the top 3 centers.
Believe it or not, Willie, that's not a bad pick.
And, well, that came out a little quicker than what – because I was going to say, we fixed our line with Ryan Kelly and with Will Freeze, they both came over from the Colts. So we replaced Bradbury, who was our weakest link. We got Will Freeze, who's rated the number 3 guard in football right now. Yeah. So we fixed our interior, and we also got Darisaw coming back. Don't know if he'll be ready at the beginning of the year, but when we put all 3 of them together, and we already got our wide receiver room together, I trust that McCarthy will be able to do at least what Donald did, but he'll be more mobile.
You hope.
Well, last year they said if he didn't get hurt, he was going to beat out Donald for the starting spot. So they're confident because of what they've seen. We don't see McCarthy every day, but the Vikings see him, and that's why I think the Vikings were comfortable letting Donald go. I give Donald all the credit in the world. He overachieved, but the Rams and the Lions set the menu of how do you get to him, and then that exposed him, and that's where his draft stock. That's where his stock went down because put pressure on him, and he'll make mistakes.
And the crazy part, it was only against 2 teams.
But nobody else put him in that situation. The Rams were the first to do it. That was our first loss. The Rams with that young defensive line, they put pressure up the middle. They made a move. He was so uncomfortable.
That wasn't your first loss. Your first loss was against us.
No, we didn't play Houston in like halfway through the season, right?
Your first loss was against us. And then,
well, I know it was 2 weeks in a row.
You lost to us, then you lost to the Rams.
But it was the same.
Then you lost to us, then you lost to the Rams again.
But getting back to Willie's point, we fixed our offensive line situation. Then on defense, they said we were soft in the middle. We couldn't stop the run. We pick up Javon Hargrave, defensive nose tackle from the 49ers. That wasn't enough. We also pick up all-pro Jonathan Allen, defensive tackle. So we got two centerpieces in the middle.
40-year-old guys.
Yeah, they're not 40 years.
They're LeBron James's age.
He's 28, Jonathan Allen. I don't know how old Hargrave is, but I think Hargrave might be younger than Jonathan Allen.
28, that's old in the NFL.
No, offensive lineman, you can play to your 35.
Yeah, but this is defense.
But they fixed the trenches.
Yeah.
And then we re-signed our own, like Byron Murphy, Aaron Jones, our kicker who was
what about your safety from 22? You re-signed him?
Harrison Smith. Yeah. He decided to come back. But they gave him a raise. He took a pay cut last year from $13 million to $9 million, and this year we're giving him $10 million. He's a year older. Did he look that good last year, or is that
maybe that's just
a parting gift because this is my last year, no matter what? But Aaron Jones, I was glad they brought him back, but I don't think that he can be the workhorse. He's going to get banged up. He got banged up. He's getting a little long in the tooth. That's why I want Omari and Hampton. But
I thought you had a backup running back.
We do, but Cam Akers. But you know what happens? We let him go every year, and then we give up a draft pick to get him back in the middle. We traded for him 2 years in a row.
Yeah.
We got him from the Rams, then we got him from Texans. But Scatterborough, I think that was going to be the guy I said, if Hampton's gone, and if we're down to the third running back, I take that guy.
You take him over to
I take him over to Ohio State guys.
Both of them?
Yep.
Why?
because I think he offers more. He's a big dude. He's a pounding dude. Now, Jones can catch the ball out of the backfield, but he can run the ball between the tackles. But as also we can see, he can catch the ball out of the backfield.
I don't know.
That kid plays with a lot of heart. So Willie, that was going to be my suggestion if Pittsburgh jumps ahead and takes Omari and Hampton.
I'd take both of the Ohio State guys over him. My opinion.
Willie, set your boy straight, man. He wants to take.
It's my opinion.
He wants to take him.
I'm just telling you what I would do.
I would take him as well. He has a chip, yeah. Because a lot of people said he wasn't as good as he claimed. He was beating his own chest. He had a rough first half in that bowl game, but that second half, he became unstoppable when they played in the playoffs. So, Willie, Minnesota, Chicago, who had the better free agent season so far? Like, who helped themselves the most? Because as it stands now, I think there's 4 teams who really did themselves favors. We talked about Washington. We talked about New England. I don't think New England's ready to win yet. Washington showed they were ready to win last year. Chicago has just made our division super tough because they're the last place team, and they fixed their whole lot. And they got a defensive they got Grady Jarrett at defensive end from Atlanta. And I can't say this guy's name right, but Deo Odeyingbo, they signed him at defense. They got 2 defensive ends on defense, and their defense was already strong. They didn't lose nobody on defense, and they replaced their whole offensive line. I think our division will be the first time nobody's below 500. Nobody. The last place team will be 9-8, and that will be the Bears or the Lions. Because let's talk about what your Lions did or didn't do. They started off strong.
No, we did.
Then they went to bed early.
No, we did. We're getting healthy. So we don't need free agents if we
You
get
seen
healthy.
the medical reports? Because I haven't seen Mr. Hutchinson, doing anything special.
If we went to Super Bowl, he would have played. So obviously that's telling me something.
He wouldn't have been healthy by then.
That's telling me something. And now he's got a whole year to get healthy. So,
but the plan was to put somebody in the opposite end. And I know you had your eyes on Myles Garrett. I know you had your eyes on another defensive end that went somewhere else.
We'll get somebody in the draft if we have to.
At pick 28, 29, 30.
We'll trade up.
Trade up. Maybe you can get one of those running backs you love so much at Ohio State. But I don't think we need them. I don't think we need them. I don't think we need a running back. I don't think a great defensive end is going to be there. I think you have a better chance at getting somebody else.
Don't worry about it. We'll trade up.
So, is there anybody else out there? Yep, Chi-Town. They improved their O-line. They got a tight end. They already have Cole Kmet. I thought he was saying that. Yeah. And similar to New England, I didn't think they needed to do anything on defense drastic, but they got Grady Jarrett and the other dude.
They still got a quarterback that's going to prove himself.
Right, but he doesn't have to do as much. His job just got a lot earlier. And I think the tutelage of Ben Johnson will put him in a position to be more successful. And if they get the running back, Gentry, Omarion, whoever, that can be a workhorse. And remember, they still got Swift, who can be the poor man's version of Mr. Gibbs. Like he'll be a scat back. Omarion Hampton's the big bruising back. Caleb Williams is not going to have to throw the ball a lot if you got that offensive line with those running backs and your wide receivers have time to develop. Yeah. But to look at Detroit, Minnesota, Chicago, they all got better. That leaves one team who I put on my free agent losers list. What the hell happened with the Packers?
They didn't do anything.
Another cheap organization. They needed a true number 1 wide receiver, didn't even make an attempt.
Nope.
Who's there? Oh no, they do got a good running back. They got the kid over from Josh Jacobs.
Yeah.
They also need offensive line help.
They don't have nothing else. Love is declining. You gave him that money, he's declining. In my opinion, I don't think Love is the answer.
Well, Love got hurt at the beginning. I think he tried to gut it out, and I don't think he was healthy. He looked real bad the first couple of games he came back. Gimpy, couldn't step up in the pocket, couldn't scramble. The year before, he was able to do those things, and he looked like a much better player.
You don't have nobody to throw a ball to.
And that's my point. Why didn't you go out and get somebody in free agency Why didn't you identify a need? Unless there's, I mean, there's still guys out there. Well, no, Hopkins got picked up now. Godwin re-signed.
There's really nobody else.
Even the guy from the Giants re-signed.
What they should have did, they should have traded for DK. That's what they should have did.
I just think Green Bay has never opened up the purse, the pocketbook to pay people, similar to Pittsburgh. So they didn't go out and make that free agent splash, but you have to build your team through free agency and the draft to be successful. What the Commanders did is a perfect playbook. What Chicago did, now they did so much in free agency, and I even think the Vikings, for all intents and purposes, we all have a luxury pick in the first round. We can go for best player available at multiple positions because we shored up our immediate needs. I'd like to see us get the best cornerback or the best safety because Harrison is going to leave. I would like to get the kid from Texas. Paul, what's the safety's name from Texas? I know you know everything Texas, but he's a first-round pick. He's supposed to be the best safety in the draft, and he can also play cornerback, and he's a hard hitter. But I don't think he'll be around at pick 23.
Hard hitter in the NFL don't even sound right anymore.
Yeah, because the rules, he's the best two-hand touch flag football guy in the league. But I wouldn't be bad. I wouldn't mind taking the best safety or the kid Revel out of South Carolina, who's 6'4". The problem is he's 6'2", I'm sorry. But he got hurt and didn't play past game 4. But they say athletically, he's a beast. So I wouldn't mind him at cornerback or the defensive back from Texas, or we get the running back. So I'd be happy with going whatever one of those guys are available, but I prefer Omari and
you talking about a safety?
Barron?
Jada Barron? Yeah. He's a cornerback.
But he plays safety too.
He's 5'11".
He's a hitter.
And then Will Johnson's up there.
Yeah, but Will Johnson's going to be gone in the top 8.
Then you get the kid from South Carolina, Nick Emenwari.
He's a safety. But his partner is Rebel, the kid that got hurt. He played there at South Carolina too. Revel. But Revel got hurt. Revel. Siobhan Revel. He got hurt like game 3, game 4, and then he didn't play the rest of the year.
East Carolina.
Oh, East Carolina. I'm sorry. One of those Carolinas. I'm not good with my directions, man. I need GPS.
And then you said you like Malachi Starks, was it?
No, he's a safety too, I think from Georgia.
Georgia.
But I would take whoever, if one of those safeties are on the board, whether it's the South Carolina safety or whether it's the Georgia safety or whether it's the defensive back from Texas or East Carolina, I would take one of those 4 people because it's a luxury pick now. It just gives us depth and see if one of them can earn a start position. If not this year, one of those safeties will replace Harrison Smith next year for sure. But he'll play a lot this year. We lost one of our safeties this year, and then we re-signed Theo Jackson, which our organization thinks he's really, really good. He got hurt. He didn't play a lot. I didn't see the pressing need to pay him that much money for somebody who didn't even play last year. But once again, just like McCarthy, the Vikings seem to feel he was worth the investment because of what they saw in training camp and stuff like that. Are there any other teams similar to Pittsburgh? I kind of like what the Giants did. They haven't got their quarterback yet.
Yeah, but they're planning on grabbing a quarterback in the draft.
Right. And they're in a little bit better position. But they got Javon Holland away from Miami at safety. They added another defensive end on the other side of Thibodeau last year. Who was the guy they traded for last year?
Kid from Jacksonville.
Yeah. So they got 2 bookend defensive ends, but they signed somebody else in free agency on defense this year. It could have been a nose tackle or it could have been a linebacker, but their defense wasn't bad. They got better. They kept Darius Slayton in the mix, who their rookie all-everything kid from LSU, Malik Neighbors. At the end of the year, Malik Neighbors was banged up a little bit, and Darius Slayton had some big years. Burns. Thanks. But
Miss Gravana said, good job.
Yep. Brian Burns. So they got him and Thibodeau on the bookends. I think they got a nose tackle in free agency, and they got Javon Holland from Miami, and I think they signed a cornerback too. But the Giants' defense is going to be even more improved than they were decent last year. They could use an offensive lineman. They definitely need a quarterback, but I think they'll be a little better than last year. But we'll see after the draft. But so in order of those 4 teams, how do you rank them? That's right. Who do you think had the best offseason so far? That includes the trades and the free agency.
Best offseason? I don't know. I might have to go with.
I've never seen so many teams I've never seen 4 teams that had like a great offseason. Like
probably the Bears.
Because they got a whole new offensive line.
Yeah.
And I know you're a big Ben Johnson fan.
Not anymore.
No, but you believe that he can scheme.
Yeah, he can definitely.
And it's a tribute. I mean, it was probably his brainchild, and I think your head coach had something to do with it too. But they were on the same page saying, we got to build our team from the trenches. And they drafted all offensive linemen and acquired offensive linemen. And then the one thing they didn't count on was your wide receiver, because what round was he picked in?
4.
4?
4th.
And he turned into an all-pro.
Yeah.
So that was a good call, because they probably rolled the dice on him, hoped he could be a number 3 wide receiver.
Same draft as Sewell.
Yeah. So that always helps. And then you didn't know what you were going to get after the trade, getting rid of Stafford, but Mr. Goff has been suitable.
Yeah.
You know, like a lot of people are down on Goff. I don't mind if Goff went to Minnesota, I wouldn't have a problem.
He's a top 8 quarterback. And I'm only saying 8 because I'm reaching, but I think it's top 6.
No, I'd say 8. 8's around cool, because I don't. There's so many good quarterbacks out there that I can't say over Mahomes, over Lamar.
That's why I said 8.
Yeah, so I was like maybe 8.
That's why I said 8.
But 6 is rich because there's so many good ones. You know, there's so many. But
with the system that he's in, I think it makes him better.
All right. I really like what Washington did.
Yep.
And they'll continue, because I think they have a number of draft picks. They might have 8 draft picks this year. But they've already added Deebo Samuel and Laramie Tunsil for a bag of stale chips. They've added Javon Kinlaw. They re-signed Zach Ertz and Bobby Wagner. They can go out and get an Omari in Hampton to pair up with the young kid from Alabama at running back.
Ryan Robinson.
Yep. Because they lost Eckler. They didn't re-sign him.
Yeah.
So
I wouldn't re-sign him either.
So that takes less running potential away from Jaden Daniels, because you don't need him to run as much. A lot of their running game, just like Baltimore back in the day, they were leading the league in running because their quarterback ran for so many damn yards. Josh Allen also fills that role for Buffalo.
Washington gotta shore up their inside run game, defensive run game. That's what they need to do.
Right. But is Kinlaw a defensive tackle or a defensive end?
I think he's a tackle.
So that helps.
Yeah.
Because that's somebody that wasn't, but like you said, he's only replacing Allen because they lost Allen. So
it's a flip.
Yeah.
But
so they're way at the end of the draft too, though. So
Bobby Wagner's more of a pass pro linebacker now, if you ask me.
Mm-hmm.
He's not much of a run stopper.
All right. Anybody you'd consider losers in free agency? Who didn't do enough?
Green Bay, the Raiders.
It's hard for the Raiders to recruit because I was thinking Metcalf
might
play with Geno Smith.
Are we talking about playoff teams or just
teams that didn't do enough, that needed help and didn't go after the pieces they needed? Green Bay is one of them.
Houston
lost more than they gained.
San Fran.
That's definitely on my list. The team with the biggest losses was Philly. Yeah. How many star-studded? But Philly and the 49ers both lost about the same amount of key players. What's the difference between the two?
Philly grabbed a couple of people, didn't they?
I say Philly prepared for their losses last year. They lost their cornerbacks, right?
Yeah.
They lost Darius Slay. Isaiah Rodgers went to the Vikings.
C.J. Gardner-Johnson got traded.
Yep. But who did they draft last year in the first and second round? Quinion Mitchell.
Yeah, the 2 cornerbacks.
And then in the second round, Cooper DeJean, who was supposed to be a first-round pick, but he got hurt halfway through his senior year at Iowa. So people got a little nervous about him, but he was healthy when the season came along. He had a great Super Bowl. So they drafted both those guys they knew last year that they were not going to be able to pay Darius Slay, who's getting toward the end of his career, as well as Gardner Johnson. So, like we said with Washington flip-flopping the defensive tackles, Philly they lost some depth, but those young kids are ready to be starters that you can count on now. So that might hurt a little bit, but it's not going to be a glaring weakness. Now, they lost Milton Williams in the middle, but they already had his replacement too.
Yeah.
Jordan Davis is a big nose tackle from Georgia. He wasn't starting because Milton Williams had beat him out, but now Milton Williams has moved on, got big money. Now Jordan Davis steps in next to Jalen Carter. And I think because of the greatness of Jalen Carter, which I think helped make Milton Williams a household name, we know Jalen Carter's getting double teamed every single play. So you're only going to get single coverage from somebody else. They can't double team both. So I think Jordan Davis will adjust a lot quicker than people expect.
But they also lost Sweat.
And I was going to get to him too. But they replaced the two defensive backs. They had Milton Williams replacement already on the roster. They lost Josh Sweat, but I thought they signed a defensive end.
I'll tell you, Josh Sweat was a difference in that Super Bowl, if you ask me.
No, him and Milton Williams. But my thing is, it's going to be easier for them to rebound. You look at, they lost Milton Williams, they lost Josh Sweat, they lost Darius Slay, they lost Isaiah Rodgers, they lost somebody else, but they got Cooper DeJean, they got Quinion Mitchell, they got Jordan Davis already there, and then they got another Nolan Smith, the linebacker from Georgia, right? But they also had Nakobe Dean. You remember they got Georgia East over there or whatever, you know, Georgia East Coast. Nakobe Dean was hurt. So he's going to join Nolan Smith from the linebacker core. You might have to replace the defensive end if they haven't already signed him. But Philly's not in as bad a shape because let's look at what the 49ers lost. Deebo Samuel, who's replacing him? The kid that got shot last year, the wide receiver, who's really, really good. Dre Greenlaw. There's nobody on that roster right now, and they didn't go out and get nobody. I thought they were going to get Bosa and compare the two Bosa twins up to help on their defensive line. Their best safety, Talanoa Hufanga, is that how you say his name?
He's gone. He's
gone. There's no safety waiting in the wings.
Travarius
Ward, the cornerback, gone. And not for nothing, McCaffrey's always hurt, but Eli Mitchell's gone, the backup.
Well, they had the other kid, though.
They had a rookie.
He wasn't bad until
they had a couple of good number twos that 2 years in a row did damage when McCaffrey was out. But if McCaffrey's out, you don't have Eli Mitchell, who also got hurt last year. So the difference to me between Philly and the 49ers, the Philly started preparing for these losses last year, and they softened the blow. 49ers, they knew they had to sign Purdy. They didn't have that rookie contract no more. They let all their high-end talent go, and they can't replace it all now, all in the draft.
And their left tackle is done too, isn't he?
Yes.
That's big.
Trent Williams.
That's big.
So where do you start if you're the 49ers? You got a middle-of-the-road pick because you didn't make the playoffs. I think they got like 13 or 14, maybe higher for a draft pick, but you're only going to fix one of those holes. So what are you waiting on?
And if I'm not mistaken, they might not have too many draft picks because
they traded a lot to move up for people in past years.
Yeah. And for
McCaffrey.
That's what I thought. I don't know.
I don't think they'll go after Deebo's replacement because I think they believe in the rookie wide receiver they had last year, at least to try it out for a full year. He'll have a full training camp. You know, he got hurt and he got shot in training camp.
San Francisco 49ers got 11.
They got pick 11.
Yep.
So I don't know where they stop, but their defensive backfield looks like – so they might be a candidate. Nah, Will Johnson ain't falling to 11. And Travis Hunter's going to be gone. So do you reach for the third best? I don't think they go defensive backfield that high. There'll be some defensive linemen available if they want to replace defensive linemen. Or they fix the offensive line because they lost Trent Williams. But they're only going to get one pick in the first round. They got 5 losses. They're going to add 1 pick in the draft. And then in the second round, they'll get somebody serviceable, but there won't be an impact player that can do what these guys did. So that's the burden of having Brock Purdy for all those years. And now it's time to pay him. And bye-bye Samuel, bye-bye Greenlaw, bye-bye Hufanga, bye-bye Wood, bye-bye Mitchell.
And you don't know how Brandon Ayuk's going to come back, if he comes back.
Yeah, because he was hurt. And you've just weakened what Brock Purdy can offer because you've taken away his left tackle. You've taken away his number 2 wide receiver. His number 1's been hurt. So there's a lot of uncertainty. And if McCaffrey doesn't stay healthy, remember, he had double something like whatever he had it in both legs. Yeah. Stress fractures, whatever. When McCaffrey's there, he's good. But McCaffrey also is going to feel the effect of no Trent Williams because that's going to affect the running game. They don't have Debo to use as a Swiss Army knife to keep people off balance. Nope. It's going to be a lot harder for Brock Purdy to be successful. He might have a little bit of a downswing in success this year. Meg, where you going? Where you going with the 11th pick? Oh, we have 11 picks.
No, he's the 11th pick.
Oh, I was going to say, that's a lot. I was like, I didn't know they had that many.
No.
I said, maybe they will fill a few holes. Yeah, they have the 11th pick. 11 picks. Where do the 49ers start with replacing some of the talent they lost? What's your top priority as a 49er fan?
A head coach.
They got that.
Oh, man. I don't know.
I don't know if you start on offense. They lost so much on defense that they have to do something.
They lost half their team, it seems like.
Yeah. It always happens when you got those young quarterbacks on the rookie deals and you have to pay all these people. You can't pay everybody. So they gave Debo decent money, but for 1 year, and then he said, all right, gotta go. They can't afford to keep him. Yeah, you have many needs, but is there one at pick 11? What type?
Take your best.
Who could you replace the best?
You take the best athlete at number 11. The best player.
I think a defensive lineman or an offensive lineman is going to be the best quality at that pick. And then you got to hope when you come back around in the second round that you can fill a second need, like whoever the best, maybe one of those defensive backs falls to the second round. Then you might have to trade up a little bit from 11 to 5 to get that dude. But it's not going to cost you as much as they don't have enough capital to trade up. They don't want to get rid of draft picks right now because you're going to have to rebuild through the draft. Next year, you're not going to have a lot of money for free agency. You paid Brandon Ayuk, you're paying Purdy, you're paying Kittle, you're paying the all-world linebacker they got. So even though Philly and San Fran, I wanted to paint that picture in comparison, they both lost so many big-name contributors, but Philly was so smart, they started preparing for this last year. They got the 2 draft, like we said, they got the 2 defensive back rookies. They were able to plug and play those guys right away. That lessened the blow. They already had Jordan Davis to, take up slack from losing Milton Williams. They'll be ready to go, at a faster pace than the 49ers. I don't know how long it's going to take 49ers. I think that's a 2 to 3 year rebuild there. Any other teams that you think were winners or losers in NFL free agency or by making good trades? Like, what do you think about Bosa going to Buffalo? Because they cut Von Miller. Is he going to stay healthy enough?
You can't depend on him.
That's my point.
You can't.
He's a great talent, and I really thought he was going to go join his brother.
He's probably going to play just as much as Von Miller would have played. He's always hurt. When was the last season he's been healthy? Played the whole season. I don't think he's ever have.
Hard to say. But let me just run down this list. Debo Samuel, Kyle Juszczyk, the fullback, Leonard Floyd, the defensive end, is gone. Malik Collins. I like this next one. Javon Hargrave. He went to go play with a great team. Dre Greenlaw. Chavarius Ward. Jalen Moore, offensive line, Elijah Mitchell, Hufanga, Josh Dobbs, their backup quarterback, and Aaron Banks. 12 guys. The 49ers have lost 12 of their best players from last season. There's only a 54-man roster, right?
53.
53. You lost almost 25% of your team. Because 25, 12 times 4 is 48. You almost lost 25% of your team. You can't replace that high of a number in one offseason, especially when you didn't go out there in free agency and get some lesser expensive players to replace some of those holes or be a Band-Aid at least. But
they didn't really sign too many people. Not that I can think of.
nah.
That's crazy.
So, we'll see what happens. But what about, I was talking to Brian, so you know where I'm going now. If Paul's still there, this will be his time to jump in. Dallas, for the third year in a row of we're all in, has not gone out and gotten no free agents. They have not. There was a comment Brian was pointing out to me. You know how much money they spent in free agency they average in free agency the last 3 years? $6 million.
That was the most that they spent.
Yeah, in the last 3 years.
That's crazy.
But you had to pay Dak. You had to pay the wide receiver, CeeDee Lamb.
You're gonna have to pay.
You're gonna have to pay Parsons, but there's somebody else on that team that they paid big money already. They paid 3 dudes already, and they still got Parsons coming up. Oh, Lawrence left.
Yep.
I forgot where he went, but DeMarcus Lawrence is gone. The offensive tackle, Zach Martin, retired. God?
Yeah.
All right. But the people that they still could look forward to coming back, unexpected, like Martin retired. DeMarcus Lawrence is gone. They did re-sign their own defensive end, the kid with the African name. He got 3 years, $60 million, and Brian was real happy about them signing him, saying he was underrated. They had to sign him. They had to lock him up. But I've heard, I don't know if the damage is not yet finished being done in Dallas, because Mr. Parson wants to become the highest non-paid quarterback, and Mr. Garrett just signed for $40 million. I think that's going to make signing him a hotter priority now, because he wants to consider himself the best defensive player. He's younger than Garrett, so he hasn't really been injury prone. But if Garrett got $40 million, is Parsons going to ask for that type of money?
I think he will.
And if they sign him, where does the money come from? Because they don't got no money for free agency now.
I know Dak and CD.
Dak and CD restructured,
but
not enough. They'll save money with Martin retiring. Lawrence wasn't on the books because he was a free agent, so that money, they didn't re-sign him, so that money came off the books anyway.
Just with Dak and him, if he signs for 40, that's $100 million right there on 2 guys.
And they've only spent $6 million.
That's crazy.
So how does Dallas get better? And Brian was like, we couldn't do anything in free agency because we don't have the money.
What pick do they have?
So 2 of their guys restructured contracts. They got 14. They're going to lose Ashton Gentry 4 picks ahead of them to the Bears.
I think he goes before the Bears. No, Dallas is at 12. Really?
What's that?
Dallas is at 12.
Yeah, but Chicago's ahead of them.
Yeah, at 10. So, I don't know. What they need a running back, obviously. They lost Dowdell. Didn't Dowdell leave?
Yeah, he went to Carolina.
Yeah. So they lost Dowdell. They need a running back. They aren't going after. So, Brian, what are they going to go after in the first round at pick 12? Or do they trade that pick?
I think they're going to get their hearts broken because they would love Ashton Gentry, but I think
he says that they're not going after a running back in the first round.
So then who?
Do you trade that pick and try to get more draft?
Brian,
capital?
Where do you start? Where do you start? You lost Martin. Do you go after an offensive lineman? Because there'll be good ones there. Kid Kelvin Banks from Tennessee still
and
around.
And they lost their tackle last year too.
Yep. And they lost their center last year that went over to the Commanders.
That
you need another defensive end
they're
now.
light in the defensive backfield too.
Yeah. Brian told us who's the kid they lost, the safety. Brian, what was the name of the safety you guys lost? You mentioned it last week, saying he's gone. We can't afford to pay him.
Wasn't Diggs? Wasn't
No, Diggs is a cornerback. It's their safety, and I remember the name. Brian will pop up in there with it in a second. But best available player, defensive player. Who was the safety you guys lost that you said you couldn't afford? I'm forgetting his name right now. You lost him as a free agent. Jordan Lewis. He left. No money to sign him. So what Brian was saying was everybody can say Dallas didn't do enough in free agency, but this year, because of the money they gave out to Lamb and Prescott, they just don't have any money. And it's not like baseball where you can go into the luxury cap and just keep spending like the Dodgers and just pay a luxury tax. You can't do that in football. You got to stay within the salary cap. And the salary cap went up like $20 million this year. They're still in the hole. Yeah. They're just less than the hole. So, best available player for Dallas. Yeah. But I didn't realize just how financially strapped Dallas was. I didn't know they were going to have no money. I was like, okay, Lawrence is a free agent. His money, goes off the books. Martin retired unexpectedly. That money comes off the books. I don't know if there was any other free agents that Dallas lost. So, Lewis's contract. But like you said, those guys were free agents. Except for Martin, Lawrence and Lewis were free agents, so their money wasn't on the books for this year yet because their contracts had expired. So the only one that saved the money is the unexpected retirement of the offensive lineman. So they had no money to go nowhere. That probably got absorbed in the Prescott.
It's still going to hurt them. Sign one guy to $60 million.
I know every quarterback's getting paid, but I'll say it now. I said it before. Dak Prescott's not $60 million to me. I would have taken my chances getting another quarterback for $40 million or $45 million because that $15 million could have been you keeping Jordan Lewis, or it could have helped keep another person, and you could have paid another quarterback. They
said Dallas has almost 20 free agents.
Yeah, that's incredible. That's this. You said there's only 53-man roster, and they got 20 free agents, and you don't got no free agent money, so. Brian, how many picks does Dallas have in this upcoming draft? Can they at least try to get it right in the draft and fill, if they got like 8 picks, 9 picks, then maybe they can fill a couple of those holes this year. And then there's always waiting until camp opens. Some more high-priced veterans will get cut. What is it, June 1st? When you save money if you cut them after June 1st?
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah, so maybe some other veterans will become available that since they get cut, the other team will be responsible for most of their salary, and then you can get them for a little cheaper, than what they cost. But I don't know, man. We'll see what happens. What's today? The 13th, and the draft is 5 weeks away, maybe 6. Because I think it's like the 26th or the 28th. So a month away would be the 13th. 5 weeks would be the 20th. So, yeah, 6 weeks away. Because I want to say it's like the 27th or 28th, and the draft is in Green Bay. So our football fix is going to go a little bit on the downslide now that we got through free agency and some of the trades.
26th.
Right? Yeah. The only thing we can look forward to now is the draft hype for the next 5 weeks. So this is why they never have money. They pay the top money to all the high-profile positions and then defer money down the road. It never really goes away. They have all their picks. Yeah, I don't know how much all is. I just didn't know if they accumulated some picks, if they got some compensatory picks. But if they have more picks than normal, then maybe they can get lucky in the draft and get some mid-round to late-round people that could contribute, because we know they'll get somebody decent in the first and second round.
Trade the 12th pick and try to get some more picks. if you have 20 guys free agent, let's say out of the 20,
But
you don't sign 5 of them.
You'd have to trade for a lower first round pick and then accumulate a second round pick with it so that you can be like, I still get a first round talent, but now I get 2 people in the second round. So that would be 3 players that could step in and play.
That's what I mean by that. It's crazy.
All right. Well, football wise, it's going to be interesting. I think that's probably most of the football news we had, but there was some interesting developments in basketball, and this one wasn't even on the court. There's a lot of viral videos going, the video going viral of the confrontation between Stephen A. Smith and LeBron James. And LeBron was the initiator. He searched out Stephen A. Smith and had some not so choice words for him regarding Stephen A.'s coverage of Bronny, saying that LeBron cleared the way for him. He's not as talented as people think. And LeBron took offense. What's your take on how both of them view it?
LeBron took offense, and he went at Stephen A., but he didn't go after anybody else.
He didn't go after Kendrick Perkins. He didn't go after Charles Barkley.
Stephen A. is not the only person that
but he's got the biggest platform.
So you go at him.
He was the safest one.
Yeah, of course.
You're not going after Kendrick Perkins or Charles Barkley because they might pose a threat to you.
Yeah.
So you go after the non-athlete who's just a talking head because you can look tough.
For him doing his job.
Right. Now, did Stephen A. deserve it? Did he say anything that wasn't true? Because what was Stephen A.'s stance?
About how
that LeBron created the whole dynamic. He created where he got drafted,
who he got drafted,
how his contract got renegotiated. You don't pay a second round pick that much money.
No. A 55th
for somebody who's done nothing in the league. And by comparison, we were talking earlier, Max McClung was the D-League MVP and the dunk champion, averaged 28 a game, scoring champion, and he doesn't make a third of what Bronny James makes, and he's accomplished so much more. Bronny had the path cleared because of the influence of his father, LeBron James. They bullied the whole NBA and threatened that Bronny wouldn't sign with somebody or he was going to go play with whatever team drafted Bronny. So that caused some interest in Bronny from teams that wouldn't normally be interested in him because they figured it would be a package deal.
Yeah.
They scared off everybody by saying he wouldn't sign. He ends up falling onto the lap of the Lakers. He gets a record contract for a second round pick. And then he makes the team over people he doesn't deserve to be on the team. And those guys get sent down to the D-League for the first 3 games of the year. Why did that happen?
Because Bronny wanted him to sign. He signed a contract that wasn't a 2-way contract.
Right. They also made that a stipulation, but he wanted the feeling. He wanted the first father-son combination like the Griffeys did in baseball and stuff like that. He wanted to be the first NBA father-son. That was more important to him than letting his son earn something. Now, LeBron the father and LeBron the player are 2 different people. I have respect for LeBron the player, and outside of this issue, I have respect for LeBron the father. But in this situation, he abused his fatherly privilege because if it wasn't his son, he wouldn't have went to bat for anybody that had Bronny's talent, and he wouldn't have went to bat and fought that battle like he did. That's nepotism. He did that because it's his son. And shame on him for having the nerve to approach Stephen A. Smith and question him for what everybody else is already saying and thinking. LeBron's totally wrong in this situation to me.
100%.
And 100% he's controlled the dynamic when he went to Miami. He's controlled the dynamic when LeBron wants to be the only voice in the room, and he thinks he's got a bigger voice than the owners, a bigger voice than the coaches, a bigger voice than the general managers. He's used to getting what he wants. And this was just the last straw to me. I was very taken aback when I saw that video. I lost a whole bunch of respect for LeBron the player. his son just wasn't ready to perform on that level. But because LeBron's at the end of his career, he fast-tracked that and he forced that situation to happen. First, he forces him to go to Lakers. Then he forces the contract where he can't get sent down. And then he's there for the first 3 or 4 games, and those are the only games he ever got in for the Lakers.
Yep.
They had their moment where they got in, they accomplished history, and then all of a sudden he's able to go to the D League because he would have rotted on the bench. But you remember last year when the draft was coming up and he said he's better than a handful of players on the Lakers now? I'd like to know what handful he was better than.
I want to say he said he's better than 60% of the NBA right now. That's what he said. He's not even better than 60% of the D League.
Now, he's had a little bit of a good run in the D League. But that's a big difference in talent.
If he's not doing it day in and day out, it's not.
So I didn't see Stephen A's response, but I know he put out a video. Did you happen to see it?
I seen some of it.
So how did Stephen A respond? What was his attitude and tone?
He said, if I'm not mistaken, he said, LeBron, the father came at me. I have respect for that, but I don't have respect for LeBron, the basketball player, coming on at me.
Yep.
So somewhat towards that. I can't remember everything, but I did see some of it. Well, I don't know.
Now, does this incident in any way tarnish LeBron's star power as a basketball player, or do we separate it as he's acting as a father, not a player right now?
I don't see, like, on something like this. Do you award him for sticking up for his son, or
not in that fashion? Because he wasn't sticking up for him for the right reason. It was nepotism.
Yeah.
Only because it's my son, I'm going to force the dynamic and I'm going to go against the odds and I'm going to make everybody think what I think. I'm going to force it. I don't care what everybody else thinks. Like, everybody knows he averaged 2 points a game in college. He shouldn't even have gone hardship. There's no way. It's not like he didn't have the money.
He didn't need the money.
But the Lakers wanted to keep LeBron happy and they wanted to re-sign him. So they appeased him and they drafted his son. But also, he's got the #1 selling jersey in the NBA. Why? I don't know. Why everybody wants LeBron's. I mean, is it going to be a collector's item because they're the first father-son combination? But he's a marketing ploy. So he's helping the Lakers off the court. He's a media darling because everybody wants to talk about that situation so much. And he's getting undue attention that he doesn't deserve. And I think LeBron, as a father, did a disservice to his son because he put him in a no-win situation.
Yeah.
Eventually, we're going to see what he's made of. We've seen a sample size already. I don't think it gets much better. Maybe down the road, he becomes a journeyman player where he can hang in the league, but he's 19, 20 years old, and he's not talented enough to be an everyday NBA player.
I think his brother's going to be better than he is.
Possibly. But LeBron got what he wanted. LeBron was selfish enough to push the dynamic to where I just want this to happen. I don't care what everybody says. And then when people call him out for it, he has an issue with it. LeBron has been one of the more outspoken people on a various number of issues, and he doesn't care if other people agree with him or not. Even the political thing when Donald Trump told him to shut up and play ball and this and that. He doesn't have a problem challenging other authority figures or speaking his mind if he agrees or disagrees with you. But how are you going to act like somebody can't disagree with you? I would have been prepared as him saying, I'm going to do something a little controversial. I'm going to push my son. I know people don't think, but I'm going to prepare myself for the backlash. And I would have said, what's the smartest way to handle this? No, he just thinks that it's a topic that nobody can talk about.
But my thing is, and like Stephen A, just another thing, Stephen A said, he named 2 people in LeBron's camp. He said, both of them people have my number. LeBron could have called me.
He's agent and his owner. The agent and the guy that runs his company. Yeah.
He didn't have to do it out there on the court. He could have did it over the phone.
And why do you think he did it on the court?
Because he wanted the attention. Of course he did.
He wanted something that was going to go
He was
viral.
looking for the cameras as he's doing it. Like that's
But
bullshit.
my thing is, I go back to everybody who reports on basketball is saying the same thing. It's not a one-sided issue. It's not a controversial issue where some people believe LeBron's right. Some people, everybody sees it the same way Stephen A. Smith sees it. But he wasn't going to approach the former basketball players because it would have been a bigger challenge to go after Perk, to go after Barkley, to go after some of the former players. I'll go after the talking head who's 50-something years old. He doesn't pose a threat to me. I'm still an NBA professional athlete. He's no threat to me. I'm going to go look tough to him. Exactly. LeBron's never been an enforcer in his whole career, but he's an enforcer with Stephen A. Smith.
Did you see the fake elbow he took on Jason Tatum when they played against the Celtics?
No.
Jason Tatum went by him, arm went up. His elbow might have touched his beard.
Well, we know he's one of the biggest floppers. They changed the rules and stuff like that.
That should have been a tech for flopping.
Michael Kahn, Stephen A. went off on Gilbert Arenas' podcast. Off the charts. What you guys are saying, I totally agree. Yeah, Mike, I can't see it any other way. Like, I want to see the kid succeed. I'm not wishing no bad ill will toward Bronny James. He wasn't ready for the NBA this year. LeBron, because he's getting up in age, wanted to move that timeline up because he doesn't know how much longer he's going to be there, though he is playing at a great high-quality clip still. But he tried to force that to happen faster than it was ready to, and his son's not ready, and he just went against the grain and tried to force that issue, and we're seeing Bronny wasn't ready. But for him to react the way he did doesn't make sense, man. I don't respect it, and I won't look at LeBron the same anymore as a person. I'll respect what he did on the court as a ball player. I know he's a great family man, him and his wife and him and his family, but you can't pick and choose, where you're going to try to change the narrative to fit, your personal beliefs over the general population. The general population all thinks the same way as Stephen A. Smith. So, we'll see what happens. But anything else you want to add on that topic, that how you see things, or?
Nah, I'm good with I'm good with the Bron and Jordan talk.
We didn't even mention Jordan, but that's all another issue. But there was another basketball story this year, a little bit of sad news this week. Me being a Milwaukee Bucks fan for my whole life, I was a fan of Marcus Johnson, Sidney Moncrief, Brian Winters. But another guy that I really followed on that team was Junior Bridgman. And everybody knows Junior Bridgman for being a sharpshooter, a gentleman on the court. But what people don't know is how he invested his money wisely while he played sports. He started buying Wendy's franchise his third or fourth year in the league, and one became successful. He flipped the money into another one, flipped the money. By the time he was done, he had 450 franchises that he owned. He became a billionaire status. He made way more money in that field of business than he did in his whole NBA playing career. To me, that's a feel-good story because a lot of people squander their money. A lot of people, I'll bring up Allen Iverson, for example. They want to live beyond their means. They want to impress people. They've made way more money than Junior Bridgman, but they didn't invest it wisely. This is a perfect example of somebody who made the most out of the money they made. They made some good investments, and it turned out good. But unfortunately, he went in for a medical procedure this week, and he didn't make it out of it. Junior Bridgman died at 71 years old. Condolences go out to him and his family. It was something that nobody saw coming. But what he accomplished as a basketball player pales in comparison to how smart he was as a businessman. And right before you came in, I think you came in on the end of the conversation, B-Mag was talking about people like Shaq and other players sought out Junior Bridgman.
Shaq.
Yeah, to learn how to get better equipped at running a business because they were aware of the success he had. And everybody says, whether he knew you or didn't know you and you approached him, he was always a gentleman. He was always willing to talk to anybody who wanted to learn, anybody that needed information. He had an open door policy, So he was willing to help others if they were willing to seek the help. So Shaq's the most visible one that I can think of, but I know I saw 4 or 5 other names of NBA players and people in other sports that, went and sought his guidance to say, hey, how do I get involved in doing something similar to you did? But back then when he played, he was probably lucky to make a couple of $1 million a year. And he might have paid 12, 14 years. But he took that money and invested wisely, and that money paid off handsomely. He's made generational wealth. I congratulate him as a businessman. I respect him as a basketball player, but I'm very sad that, 71 years old and he was in great health. I don't know what procedure he went in for, but it was supposed to be minor and he just didn't make it out of it. So just want to recognize Junior Bridgman and, pass on condolences to his family and in the NBA community as well. But anything else sports on your mind this week, Mr. Decon?
No.
Well, I know this weekend the draft start for Major League Baseball, which means next weekend, within 2 weeks, Major League Baseball will be back. We already had a major injury with a major piece out for the year. Garrett Cole had an MRI on. He's going to have Tommy John surgery.
Yep.
I don't think Garrett Cole's a young buck anymore. So this is kind of late in your career to have John surgery. I mean, Aaron John. Tommy John surgery. But that's going to be a devastating loss to the Yankees, who, by all intents and purposes, were probably still the American League favorites to challenge the Dodgers again.
He's their ace.
Yeah, so now you lost Soto on offense and you lost Garrett Cole. It's going to be really hard for them to recover from that because he's probably going to be out a year and a half. He's going to be out a year, but Tommy John surgery is not something you come back from.
If not retire, because like you said, he's not no spring chicken.
I don't know if he'll be an ace anymore. He might move to middle relief. He might move to closer. We don't know how he's going to. I mean, the technology is good for these surgeries now.
Yeah.
But it's still a year and a half process. There's no fast track to coming back from something like this. Texas Rangers had a scare with their young up-and-coming star last night, Bobby Witt Jr., who was hit with a 90-something mile-an-hour fastball on his forearm, and they thought,
Texas Rangers. I thought he was Kansas City. He got traded.
Oh, I'm sorry. He is on the Kansas City Royals.
Wait a minute.
He is on the Kansas City Royals. But his dad played for Texas, I think, right? His dad was a pitcher, Bobby Witt, somebody like. But Bobby Witt Jr. Took a 95-mile-an-hour fastball on the forearm, and they were a little nervous that he might have broke his forearm, which would have put him out 8 to 12 weeks to start the season. Medical reports came back late last night and early this morning and said he didn't break nothing. He doesn't have any ligament damage. He'll be sore for a little while. He may not be ready for opening week, but he'll be back by the second week. They showed him in the hospital. Making jokes, talking about he's learning to be left-handed right now because his right hand's immobilized. It's you get hit by a 90-something mile-an-hour fastball on your wrist where there's no muscle to absorb it and stuff. It's going to do damage.
Get hit by 70 mile an hour. It hurts.
Yep.
It hurts.
Yep. And then we got other players that are still trying to come back from injuries last year. What do you think is going to happen with Robert Acuna?
I don't know. I just seen a.
He got hurt like in June, and they said that's a year-long recovery. So he's not ready for the first couple of months.
But when I think he's going to come back. He's going to come back blazing. That kid, he's special.
He is. But you know what concerns me about his injury? He had the same injury 3 years ago, and now it's on the opposite knee. So he's going to have total reconstructive surgery on both knees. He's the epitome of speed and power. But I don't know if the speed's going to suffer because you've had both knees done, but he's 25 years old.
The power is not. He hit a 512-foot bomb.
Right. But what makes him great is his blend of speed and power.
Yeah.
So he's not the biggest guy in the world.
Nope.
But he's uncanny strong. He hits for average. He hits for power. And he's very fast. I mean, he had before Ohtani had the 50-50 year last year, he had like a 76 steal. He had the most stolen bases in recent history. He just didn't have the same, but he had 40 home runs. So he was a 40-70 guy.
Yeah.
Is that more impressive than a 50-50 guy? Because there's significantly more steals.
No.
The 50-50 was more impressive. And it was a bigger guy.
Yeah.
You don't look at Ohtani as a speed merchant.
He don't look like he's a guy that's going to steal bases.
He's a smart base runner.
Yeah. He don't look like a guy that's going to steal bases.
He himself is going to be coming back, not as a hitter, but as a pitcher. How do you see his contributions? Because they set him up nice by getting every number one free agent pitcher out there and then got the kid from Japan. So they could go to a 6-man rotation and pitch him, skip a rotation with him every once in a while, put him in middle relief maybe this year, put him at the end of the bullpen. You got, as long as you're healthy, they got some arms over in the Dodgers.
Oh, yeah, that's an all-star team over there. That's crazy.
So we'll see shortly. When we come back next week, maybe some more dust has settled on NFL. We don't know what's going to happen with Aaron Rodgers, Russell Wilson.
We'll have the NCAA tournament.
We'll have the NCAA tournament, March Madness, and baseball will be starting. So we look forward to seeing you guys next week when those topics will be up for topic. But before we sign off, tomorrow night, Whaler Inn and Suites, we're going to be celebrating our man B Mag's birthday, and everybody else who's a Pisces and has a birthday in March, come on down and celebrate as part of the celebration. We got my guy A.G. White coming down to New Bedford to headline the show. If you're not familiar with this man's work, man, this guy's a beast. This is somebody that's going to be worth the price of admission. You're going to want to come see him. And as always, we got our boy Chris Tabb holding down the hosting. And we got Rob Santos coming off his new TV show. Congratulations to him. He has a new TV show out called Beige that's now available, picked up by Amazon Prime and Fox Soul and a few other networks. So we got a nice little lineup set up for you tomorrow. Tickets are still available. You can still get tickets online for $25 up until 5 o'clock tomorrow. You can still have me drop off tickets but if you wait past 5 o'clock tomorrow, it's $30 at the door. So please, guys, we do the advance tickets for a reason. If you come to the door, we don't know you're coming. So there's no special accommodations. It's $30 at the door, but you can go online and get your tickets for $5 less. Either way, we look forward to seeing you guys tomorrow night. Please come out and support B-Mag, because those of you guys that know him, he's been a good friend and supporter to a lot of the people in our community. When you need him to DJ, when you need a favor from the radio station, the answer is always yes. He's out there. He's got everybody's back that ask him for a favor. And for once, I'd like to see the tide change and people support him. Show him a little love tomorrow night. Even if you can't come, buy a ticket, donate it to a family member, donate it to a good friend. Hell, donate it to the station and we'll give that ticket away on air. We'll find some use for it. But if you can't make it, you can still support. There's so many different ways to support, but we'd like to see people in person tomorrow. Come out, have a little beverage with them, see a great comedy show, just have an overall good time. So I'm looking forward to seeing everybody tomorrow. D-Con?
I'm good. I'll see y'all tomorrow.
All right, man. We're signing off. Thanks for tuning in. Hopefully we'll see you tomorrow night. If not, we'll see you Thursday.